Okay guys, I've cleaned it as best as I could, alright? So I've got it hooked up to my little jig here, and we're gonna go reassemble the shock. So the first thing we gotta do is put the, we're gonna put the bladder back in, okay? So assembly, check that the bladder on the gas reservoir cap is not partially closed. Okay, so under here, under assembly, it says check that the bladder A on the gas reservoir is not partially collapsed. Okay, if it is, push down the valve core with the screwdriver. Okay, so there's the bladder. It is kind of collapsed, but not really. I did open it earlier, so that's why it's not thing. Just to go get a screwdriver and open it if it's collapsed. Okay, but right, that looks okay. He's making here. I'm back. My camera ran out of juice and I'm getting cramps and stuff on my hands. So anyway, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna rinse this, we're gonna fill this guy up, and then we're gonna rinse the bladder because there might be some stuff from the napkins on there. So I'm gonna rinse. So this, it doesn't say this in the manual, okay? It does not say to do this in the manual, but I watched the video online and that's the way they did this. So what I'm gonna do is fill up the reservoir halfway or something. Okay. And it when I pour it into the reservoir, it fills the other one up. So I guess you're gonna have to fill both of them up. So just kind of stick this in there. You probably only want to fill it up about halfway. This is really messy. I do not like doing this. That's what I'm going to say. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and rinse my bladder off, okay, with fresh lube, fresh oil. Okay, I know it's so wasteful, right? Okay, it does say to put some kind of grease on it, but we're just going to use the oil, okay? And I got a new fresh pair of gloves on, so I'm just put oil all over the bladder, okay? And then we're going to stick it back in there. Yeah, let me, I'm just gonna kind of lightly put it back in there for now. Okay, so messy. Okay, so I'm just gonna read what it says on the manual now. It says check the circlip for weakening, deformity, flaws. If necessary, replace with new one. Okay, here's the circlip. This is the one for the reservoir. I made sure and cleaned it a little bit. Maybe I might want to put a little bit of lube on it. Okay, so fit the circlip in the groove in the gas reservoir. Okay. So I'm thinking you've got to push this in here, okay? And it's going to make a big, this is the part that's really messy, okay? So you want to make sure there's no air in there, so that's why we filled it up. And we're going to push the reservoir in there, and I lubed it up. Hopefully it doesn't fall off my little thingy here. I'm going to support it. Okay, there we go. Okay. And then we're going to use our socket. Where did the Mr. Socket go? Okay, I lost my socket, but here, I think I found it. Okay, so I got my socket here. We're going to use that to drive this puppy inside, okay? And you gotta drive it in there far enough. Oh, look at that. No fluid came out. No fluid came out, but it's forced. You can see it's forcing fluid into the shock body. Okay, so you're going to want to push this down a little bit. 10 millimeters, right? That looks like about 10 millimeters until you can see the groove for the circlip, okay? That's the groove right there. And now we got to put the circlip back in, okay? Here it goes. Wish me luck. Okay, this isn't a very secure platform, so I can't really do much with it. You just kind of just want to walk it in there. Excuse me for the heater sounds. Okay, there we go. So make sure the circlip is in there properly. I'm gonna go get the my little pick here, and then I'm gonna just move it a little bit sideways if I can. So that'll let me know it's seated. It's falling. So it's actually was not that messy. Okay, yeah, I saw it moved a little bit, so I know that's properly seated. Okay, so that's there to keep the bladder from popping out. Okay, so now it says pull up the gas reservoir cap against the circlip. Okay, the cap must be 1 millimeter lower than the end of the gas reservoir. Okay. Okay, so basically you just pull up on this with a pair of pliers until it seats on the circlip, basically. Okay, that's as far as it's gonna go. Okay, so make sure you have your the metal valve cap or a nut. Okay, the like a tube nut, so you don't damage the threads. Okay, I'm just gonna pull up on this guy. Okay. Okay. That's it. It's about as far as it wants to go. Okay, and you saw some of the fluid, the oil went down. Look at how clean that fluid is compared to those stuff that we took out. It's kind of like a golden color. It kind of looks like pee, sort of. Like your beginning stages of dehydration. Pee. Okay, now it says fill the rear shock body and gas reservoir with specified oil, and then reassemble the rear shock body. See oil filling. Okay, so we've assembled the reservoir. Now we're gonna go put fill up the shock body. Okay. Okay. So before I even put oil in it, I should have tightened the bleeder valve. We're gonna have to open it again. But also another thing is you want to make sure that the bleeder valve is the O-ring is still good on it, okay? And the O-ring still look good on mine, so I'm not going to change it. Okay, so make sure it's nice and snug so it doesn't leak. All right. Okay, so we're going to go back to oil filling, okay? So we were actually jumped ahead in the manual a little bit to reassemble it. It's kind of weird the way they tell you to do everything. Okay, here we go. Continuing on the way. So here we're in the oil filling section now, all right? We're putting everything back together. So check the O-ring on the bleeder bolt and replace it if necessary, all right? I already did that. It seemed fine to me. Okay, install the bleeder bolt. Oh, you did install it. Now it says pour the Kayaba or KYB liquid or SAEW 5W or Bel-Ray SE2 number 40 oil. Okay, I cannot find any of that. Okay, so the funny thing is Maxima sells a 3-weight and a 7-weight and a 9-weight or something. So they don't sell a 5-weight. It's kind of weird. Okay, for shocks. Okay, oil into the rear body to 31 to 35 millimeter from the shock body lower end. Okay, so you know what that means. Okay, so it says 31 to 35. How about 33? Okay, right in the middle. It's almost what my preload settings are. Okay, from the top of the shock body. Okay, so you're measuring from the very top to here. Okay, so we need to add more. Okay, basically using the caliper as a dipstick is what I'm doing. Okay, so we're going to add some more of this golden elixir into here. Okay, a little bit more. That's probably why they give you a range, so you know if you kind of didn't put enough, you know, there's a range. Just you don't have to be super precise. Ooh, that is perfect right there. That's 33, right on the money. Okay. Okay, so it says here, rear shock body lower. Okay, it should be 31 to 55 millimeter. That's the little diagram there. The gas reservoir is right here. Okay, we've installed it already. And the oil capacity is 5.44 US ounce, or 161 milliliters. So, yeah, you should have a lot of fluid left when you're done, okay? There's probably enough to service like 4 or 5 shocks. Maybe not. If you're doing what Hades Omega is doing and using it to rinse parts, okay? Okay, so for the next section, it says insert the piston A, okay, of the push rod assembly into the rear shock body slowly. Do not insert the seal assembly yet. Pump the push rod until all the air is forced out of the rear shock body, okay? So there still could be some air trapped in there, is what they're saying. So you need to move that fluid in there, okay? Okay, I'm gonna wipe this guy down one more time. So this is the piston they're talking about, okay, and the seal is right here. So you want to keep this out here, okay? Don't put it in yet. Here we're just gonna pump some fluid around through it, okay? And I'm gonna make sure it's clean. All right, and then I'm gonna go rinse it with some fresh fluid, and also make sure it's got lubrication, so when we put it in, it'll, that stuff won't happen. Okay, so I'm gonna just rinse the piston. Okay. Let's rinse the seal too. Okay. I know, I got like so much oil, it's like I don't even know what I'm gonna do with this oil. This is so messy, dude. Okay, so now it says insert the piston end of the push rod assembly into the rear shock, just like so. And do not insert the seal. Okay, as you can see, some of that, oh man, it's gonna fall now. So I'm supporting it. Some of that, there was some dirt still inside the piston, so some of it got into the fluid anyways. So you can see there's a lot of bubbles. So I probably should have, I don't know how to do that. Force fluid through the piston, to get all that dirt out. But now there's a bunch of dirt in the fluid, but that's okay. The fluid's still fresh, so. Okay, it says, and then push the steel assembly into the rear shock body until it just clears the circlip groove. Oh, okay, never mind. That's later. Push the rod assembly in the shock body slowly. Do not, okay, until all the air is forced out. Okay, so just do this like 3 to 5 times. How about that? I'm gonna do it 5 times. Because there could be air trapped in the piston, I think, is what's going on here. Wow, there's a lot of resistance. Doesn't that suck? How Hades Omega tried really hard to keep that fluid clean, and then once I put the piston in, it just contaminated it again. Oh well, whatever, man. That's fine. At least we got most of the metal particles out. That's fine. Okay. I'm gonna push this into there a little bit, and I think we're okay. I'm gonna take it off my little dealie here. And then what to do now is wait for all the bubbles to disappear. Like, you want to make sure there's no air in it at all. Okay, there it is. On the vise, still some bubbles. Working that piston. Seems pretty smooth. Okay. I cannot believe it, how it's dirty again. Okay, so definitely make sure you rinse that piston off good, man. Or, I hate to say it, if I was to do this again, to make sure I clean the piston, I would fill this. I know, but yeah, it would contaminate everything again. And it would be, yeah, it's so hard, dude. I'm telling you. The only way you can clean that piston is if you shot like oil through it, okay, to get all that stuff out of there. There's no way I could, or I could have shot some kind of shock cleaner in there or something. But I don't recommend you use any kind of solvent to clean this, okay, because it could contaminate the fluid and the seals and stuff, and it could be bad. So, what I heard, if you want to clean it, use the shock fluid to clean it, okay. But yeah, there it is. And it looks like it's pretty good, but I will let it sit for about 10-15 minutes, okay, to make sure we got all the bubbles out. And then the next step is we're going to push all of this down there. Okay, we're going to push the seal down there, and it might make a big mess. So I'm not going to lie, it's probably going to make a big mess. And then yeah, and then we got to put the next circlip in, this guy. Okay. All right. So I'll see you guys in 15 minutes. Okay, it's been about 20 or so minutes. The piston actually withdrew all the way into the shock body, and it made a big mess. So, but that's okay. Okay, I'm gonna put my glovies back on. Okay, since we lost a little bit of fluid, I'm going to go add a little bit more. Okay. If there's any extra, it'll probably just, come out. Okay. What a mess. And the fluid is already kind of tainted, so. Alright, so what we're going to have to do, so the next step is to put the circlip back on, okay? This guy. Okay, we're going to put the top, and then put the top cap back on. So, here's what the manual says. Push the seal assembly into the rear shock until it just clears the circlip groove. Check the circlip if it's damaged. Fit the circlip into the groove in the rear shock body. Okay, got it. Pretty much the same idea as when we put the reservoir back in. Okay, that's kind of weird. The reservoir kind of got sucked into there. That's odd. Not supposed to be like that. Hold on. Let me pull it back out. I don't know why it sucked itself back in there. Yes, it did. It sucked itself back in there. I can't believe it. Okay, whatever. Okay, but there's definitely no more air in there. I don't see any air in there, so that's good. Okay, I'm going to add some more of this. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna go put this on my little shock apparatus. Okay, so I'm gonna go push the seal in. I'm gonna kind of support it with the bottom of my hand so it doesn't fall out. Okay, this is the messy part here. Okay, this is the tough part here. So we need to push the seal in enough where we can get the this guy in there, so we can put the circlip in there. And I cannot even see the circlip because this thing is full of oil. Okay, I think that's good. I cannot even see the groove. It's way in there, man. So you gotta really drive that sucker in there. There's nothing for me to drive it in with. If I had like a big socket or something. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, I can see the groove for the circlip. I think it would be best to put it back on the regular vise now. Okay, so like I don't have to worry about pushing on it. I don't think it's gonna make much of a... Okay, so now I can see the groove. Okay, so I can see the groove for the circlip. We're gonna go put this in here. We're gonna hopefully walk it into there. Okay, push this down. Then let me get a screwdriver. This has to be pushed quite a ways in there. Screwdriver, and then push down on the circlip. Okay. Okay, I felt it seat. Okay, I think it's seated. I don't think it's going anywhere, but I'm gonna go wipe all this oil off. So I can kind of see better in there. This is just oil everywhere, man. Okay, I'm gonna get a bunch of Q-tips and suck up all that freaking oil, man. I can't tell if it's in the groove. And no, it was not seated, see. Because once it's seated, it's not gonna come out. You shouldn't be able to push it anymore. I think I went too far. Okay, and then you're gonna want to move it around to make sure it's seated properly. Okay, yeah, I think it is seated properly. Okay. No, it's not. See, it popped out. Damn it. Yeah, it popped out, see? So you got to make sure that circlip is properly seated. Else this will just pop right out. Okay, so what I've done is I've actually moved it too far out, okay? It's too far down. So I'm just gonna move it back up. Oh no, it's all the way down there. Okay, never mind. I didn't move it enough. I didn't move it enough. It's way down there, guys. So you really got to get that clip way down in there. There we go. Okay, now it's properly seated. Yeah, it's got to be way in there, guys. There's two grooves. I think the first groove is for the first groove here is for the cover, okay? This guy. All right, that's just to stop that from keep on going, okay? But there's a second groove, okay, all the way down there. So it says pull up on the rod assembly against the circlip. Force the stop into the rear shock body by lightly tapping around the edge of the stop. Oh, no, that's the... So fit the circlip into the groove of the rear shock. Then pull the push rod assembly against the circlip. Okay, so... I think they mean pull, not push. Just to make sure this thing is seated properly. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna force it. I'm gonna push the circlip. Okay, so it moves around in a circle. Okay, just to make sure everything is properly seated. And it looks like it is. I'm gonna clean up some more of this oil here. I'm telling you, super messy, man. Super messy. Let me get the pick. The pick probably works best here. Okay. So I'm going to get the pick and push on it. See if if I can get the whole circlip to move around, and I can't. Okay. Well, I think it's fine. Just make sure the clip is seated properly. Okay, I think that's fine. So I'm gonna go get some more Q-tips and soak up. Get a napkin here. Okay, so that's it. We're pretty much done. That's the hard part, the messy part. Okay, and then I'm gonna clean out all the oil from here, because there shouldn't be any oil here. Alright, now it says to pull up on it to make sure the circlip is seated properly, okay? So just pull up on that sucker. Just to make sure it doesn't pop out. Feels like there's kind of some air. It kind of like farts when I pull it up all the way. It's kind of odd. Hope I did it right, guys. Okay, but that looks okay. It's not coming out. So now we got to put this back on. Okay, so force the stop into the rear shock body by lightly tapping around the edge of the stop with the mallet. Okay, so this is the stop right here. I guess this guy is to keep it from moving more. Okay, and then you got to use a mallet, I think is what it says. Yep, I got one of those. Okay, I got a dead blow hammer here, and we're just gonna put the bottom cover back on. Remember, this is pretty hard to get off, so I'd imagine it's going to be kind of hard to get back on. Just tap around it, put the cover back on. Okay, and just keep on doing that until there's no more gap here, okay? Okay, I'm wiping the shock body clean. So next thing to do